Mr. Magu gets a replacement as EFCC chairman after the Senate today confirmed Abdulrasheed Bauer as the substantive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. And our spotlight tonight falls on the vacant senatorial seat in the National Assembly. We'll take you again to Imo State, where the controversy over the Imo North legislative seat continues to generate controversy. Stay with us right here on the program. Hello everyone, and welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbalo in Lagos. It's a bumper show. It's a Wednesday midweek edition of Politics Today live on Channels Television. And tonight we'll serve you some of your top stories in the land. Of course, we'll bring you some of the analysis and perspectives to Mr. Bauer's confirmation by the Senate. And of course, what is happening in the National Assembly, the empty and vacant senatorial seats in Imo North. Before we get into all of that, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
I, Oluwarotimi Odunayo Akeredolu.
As Governor Rotimi Akeredolu begins his journey to his second term in office as Ondo State Governor, he thanks the people for their support, promising to continue churning out projects that will cater to their welfare. The Ondo State Governor was sworn in for a second term in office today in Akure, the state capital.
I'm very ready to continue the redemptive mission for which the good people of Ondo State renewed a mandate.
The Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, says the Senate has disappointed Nigerians by confirming the immediate past service chiefs as ambassadors. Governor Wike stated this when the Senate Committee on Niger Delta, led by its chairman, visited him at the Government House in Port Harcourt today. Governor Wike says Nigerians are not happy that the same lawmakers who called for the sack of the former service chiefs following their handling of security confirmed their nomination due to party sentiment and loyalty.
Our conscience is key. It's not because I want to be a loyalist to a party. No, there are things you cannot reconcile.
Southwest leaders of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, have commenced reconciliation moves by setting up a committee that will resolve the crisis stalling the progress of the party in the region. During a meeting in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, the committee, chaired by a former governor of the state, Olagunsoye Oyinola, wants to address the leadership crisis that has rocked the party in the state, including underlying factors breeding feud among some party leaders. He confirms that the committee, put up by Southwest stakeholders, was constituted to move round southwestern states to assess the situation with a view towards resolving any internal crisis.
To look at the possibility of trashing out the differences for the oneness of a party.
Meanwhile, the Osun State chapter of the party has been split into two camps with separate secretariats at different locations within the state.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get our first stop on the program, and it's going to be in the National Assembly. Today, the Senate confirmed Abdulrasheed Bauer as the substantive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. His confirmation comes after a screening exercise during today's plenary. Lawmakers take him up on several issues relating to transparency surrounding recovery of assets and monies from proceeds of financial crime. The senators also question him on some allegations which have since gone viral. The Senate thereafter confirms him. Let's take a listen to Mr. Bauer, the man who will be the boss at the EFCC.
Rose through the ranks from an ordinary team member to become a team leader. It is on record in EFCC that I happens to be the first regular staff of the EFCC to be appointed a team leader in the midst of all police officers that have dominated the scene of operations. I became a sectional head and I also became a zonal head. I've been in the EFCC for 16 years. I've participated in several high-profile cases that has taken me around the world. I'm versed in the investigation of advanced fee fraud, money laundering, public sector corruption, and other financial crimes-related issues. I've testified in several courts around the country, leading to several convictions and recovery of hundreds of billions of naira. Mr. President, distinguished senators, I'm not only an investigator that investigates and prosecute offenders. Because of my expertise, I'm humbled to state also that I'm also a trainer at the EFCC Academy.
There have been some commentaries as to the nomination of Mr. Bauer for the EFCC job. In fact, yesterday, some other angles to the political talk into this is the manner in which lawmakers now confirm and screen President Buhari's nominees. Some lawmakers criticize Senate's confirmation of former service chiefs as ambassadors. Well, let's get some perspectives on today's confirmation and some of the issues that have been raised. I'm being joined on the program by the Senate Chairman on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crime, Senator Suleiman Kwari. He joins us from Abuja. Senator, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And let's get straight to it, because some of the criticisms and some of the issues that have come about the activities of the Senate, especially in your recent confirmation of President Buhari's nominees. Let's go to specifics. To today's screening of Mr. Bauer as the EFCC chairman, some of the critics of the Senate and the APC have said what they envisaged and what they saw was that this Senate or this National Assembly was going to be a rubber stamp of the executive, and they claim that this is what they saw that's happened today. How do you react to that?
Well, thank you very much, Sheung. I wouldn't say this was the case because there were the thoughts around having the EFCC chairman passed through as normal with the orders that were done previously. But we anticipated that this bow and go issue that usually accompanies such screening could be a minus, in that the nominee that came before the Senate today happened to be a very well-trained and experienced investigator and also administrator by all standards. So this was different. We saw today something that on the floor of the Senate that has never happened, because we saw before us a pretty young man coming in to defend what he has been able to achieve over the years. And we all felt very proud that this young man and also Mr. President have nominated somebody that was good enough to head the EFCC. And we are all very proud of his presentations, and we found him worthy of confirmation, having stated clearly and defended all the questions that were raised, and also the important issues that were raised. He responded to them positively. So I think what we have seen today on the floor of the Senate, we saw somebody that came and defended well what is being nominated to come and head in government. And I think he made the entire young generation of youth that we have, he made them proud, and we were also good to understand that this representation of the representative of the youth will do very well going forward with what he mapped out.
Let me check with you,
plan.
Senator, as to your due diligence and your committee, because it's your committee that is directly involved in this kind of confirmation upon your recommendation to the General House of the Senate. Is what led to what we saw today. There are allegations against this Mr. Abdulrasheed Bauer, who has now been confirmed. What background check did you do in your committee as regarding the allegation of him being arrested on corruption charges or corruption allegations against him?
Well, there wasn't much to investigate. Yeah, I think what was suggested to have been an offense on his part was not in anywhere within the cycles of government. These were wild allegations that could not be proven, and if anything at all, the young man was not queried, he was not arrested, and I think he came vehemently and defended that within the floor of the Senate.
But Senator, apologies, sorry, Senator,
yes.
Apologies. When you say he was never arrested, he was not being queried, those findings, are those findings that you got from the EFCC or from the police, or where are those findings? Where did you get those findings from?
Well, from the system, there is a process in Senate confirmation. Usually, if there are allegations, there has to be proof of allegations, and also petitions signed, and brought in before the committee. These were only allegations that were on the pages of the newspapers and media. So we saw nothing that warranted our having to go to either the police or any other law enforcement agency to be able to confirm whatever was said. These were just wild allegations, and it was confirmed on the floor of the Senate. He debunked all the allegations, and it was satisfying to all of us, and that was why the confirmation was done.
Senator, you've not spoken about some of the allegations against this Senate or against this National Assembly, that for those who have criticized from the beginning that this National Assembly was going to be a rubber stamp. We saw what happened and the criticism which came on the former service chiefs, and the reasons or the accusation against the presidency for nominating them. And now we've seen the EFCC boards that are being confirmed. How do you react to those who said, look, this Senate or this National Assembly is going to be a rubber stamp?
Well, I think in the best interest of the nation, Mr. President found these former service chiefs worthy of appointment. And in the process of introducing the matter to the floor of the Senate President categorically also mentioned the fact that there must be some reasons, but he was not going to preempt where these former service chiefs would be posted to. But he said, with all due respect and without preempting what the president will do, it would be a good thing if Mr. President considers sending these people to our neighboring countries, the former service chiefs to our neighboring countries, since they have headed this, the security outfit in Nigeria, and they knew where their problems were coming from. If they get sent to Chad, Niger, and other places, it would be a good thing. And this was made clear on the floor, and I think the whole senators are also in tune with this thinking. So the fact,
but I'm not sure it was the old Senate. Sorry, apologies, Senator. I'm not sure it was the old Senate, but we saw part of that debate. Senator Yinaya Abaribe, speaking for the opposition, was very vehement on the reasons and the moral standing of the president sending them as nominees. But, I mean, that aside, I'd like you to quickly comment on this, Senator, on the capacity of Mr. Bauer for the EFCC job. And that's going to be on a final note, Senator. No police background. He's never gotten any public appointment outside of the EFCC. So those who question his capacity in that regard, how would you react to this?
No, all investigators of EFCC, frankly, Sheun, have gotten police background. Their first trainers on recruitment happen to be police. And everything that is within the EFCC from inception to date have been teleguided by the police. What we have done, or Mr. President has done, is to just look within the officer cadet corps that have been introduced into the EFCC, because that is the intention. The police are supposed to guide these cadet corps of officers to a certain level. And after 16 to 18 years, we think that will have been achieved. And Mr. President found him worthy of having been part of the first cadet corps of 2005. And with all the trainings done in US, UK, in the best academies in the world, we found that Mr. President found him worthy of this appointment. And I think it has been well received across the country. The CV has been well circulated, and we hope that he will be a good ambassador of that cause cadre, and he will move the organization forward.
Senator,
so we are very trusting that, yes, that this will be a very good thing for the nation, Sheun. And
Senator Suleiman,
the young man is able to represent the cluster of young men that he represents today very, very well. And we wish him all the best.
We wish Mr. Bauer the very best in his role as EFCC chair. We most sincerely thank you, Senator Suleiman Kwari, Chairman, Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes. Thank you so much for creating time to talk to us tonight on the program.
Thank you very much, sir. And bye-bye.
Well, quickly, let's switch gears and look into the issue of security. Kaduna State has faced a series of crises recently, clashes and killings in the southern Kaduna. Loads of security agencies have been deployed. But look, solutions are still being looked into on how to permanently resolve some of the issues relating to insecurity in that state. We caught up with the former governor of Kaduna State, Mukhtar Yero, and this brief interview with him, he spoke to us about insecurity, the politics of the PDP, and 2023. Take a listen to him. Your Excellency, former governor of Kaduna State, Mukhtar Yero, thank you so much for talking to us on Channels Television.
Thank you very much for having me in your program.
Let's get some views and perhaps extract some knowledge from you. This is a state you've been a former commissioner, a former governor, you know so well. But there's been a lingering problem, a challenge for every governor and the people of Kaduna State, which is usually the southern Kaduna, the clashes and the deaths and the killings that we've seen. Things have gotten bad recently. What do you think is at the very root of this? What do you think is the major cause?
Well, alhamdulillah, the major cause of this problem, if we can say that, is dated back to so many years. Since 1988 or 82, thereabout, there are so many challenges in the southern part of the state. Mostly ethno-religious issues, land disputes issues, and so many of them. But over the years, different governments have tried different methods in resolving these issues. Because every particular problem that comes in, you have to have a different solution to it. So from 2007, when I joined government as a commissioner of finance, these kind of challenges are also there between the herders and the farmers mostly, and also between the different ethno-religious, different ethnic groups in the southern part of the state. But you find out that in most cases, we try to solve this problem locally, by using the traditional institution, by using the religious leaders, and then the government will also come in. And the lack of social amenities also is creating these kind of problems. And then the herders movement, which also creates all these kind of problems. So to me, the best way to resolve these issues, especially in the southern part of the state, is by all of us coming together, both the Muslims, the Christians, the other different tribes, to come together and fight this issue that we want to live in peace, we want to understand each other, and then we want to see how we can move forward. Without that, I don't think we're going to have a solution to that.
Expressway. The people dread to travel by road in that particular axis. Have you been on that road recently?
Even on Thursday, I passed that road.
But what are the feelings of people as regarding the situation in that region, and what has made the insecurity situation risen in recent times?
You see, the Abuja-Kaduna road, like I said, from 2007 or in 2008, the then administration in 2008, under the former Vice President, he was the governor of the state, came up with the idea of having an Operation Yagi. It's a security outfit where all the security formations that we have in the states come together and then form a force. And then they were funded and then provided with all the necessary equipment that they can help in addressing some security challenges that we have in the state. That road, you will find out that up to the time I left government, we have a lot of vehicles, security vehicles that are patrolling that road in order to give comfort to people and then to address any issue that will come within a period of 10, 15, or 30 minutes. But if you look at it now, most of the securities that you see on that road are stationed in a particular area. So between this station and the next station, anything can happen in between where the security people are standing. But during our time, they patrol the whole road.
Interesting. You mentioned the issue of the herders and farmers clash.
Yes.
This has been a long-term problem for Kaduna State, but it's now becoming a regional problem. It's becoming a national crisis on our hands. And a lot of people have been looking into the solutions. You find a lot of interventions on how to resolve this crisis. What would you say could be the solution to that major challenge?
Now, before we talk of the solution to the challenges of herders and farmers, from time immemorial, herders and farmers have a lot of problems, had a lot of clashes. Because a farmer that has done some cultivations in his farm and then somebody will come with his cows or with his animals and then at the end of the day destroy it, definitely there is going to be a problem. This issue has been there. And then if you look at the routes, the routes that these herders follow are now cities or are now farmlands. And then these cows, when they come, they pass through that route. They know the route, some of them know the route, and they try to pass through it. If it is a farm now, they enter somebody's farm and then it becomes a problem. If it is a city, you see them in cities moving. So part of the solution is to have a grazing reserve, or to make sure that you put these cows and then these herders in one place.
Like a ranch.
Like a ranch. And then even during our time, we tried to do it at the federal level. I was part of the committee headed by Governor Inyako to see how we can have a ranch in different parts of the country so that we allow the cows to stay there. Like in Kaduna, we have a Laduga grazing reserve. It's in the southern part of the state. It's a large area. It's over about 70,000 square kilometers. It's purely for grazing. But these people that we see that are moving, most of them comes from outside Nigeria. The real Fulanis, the real herders in the country are not moving around like the way the other people that comes in from other countries. So that is part of the challenge that we have. So to me, we have to have an ECOWAS agreement whereby the movements of all these cattle from outside different countries should be restricted, should be controlled. Because if we don't have that, then somebody will come from Niger or from Mali without knowing what is happening in Nigeria and then creates a problem for the people in Nigeria and then he leaves. So I think the ECOWAS protocols has to be reviewed, has to be looked into so that all the ECOWAS countries around us here will have a solution to this. Without having that kind of thing, I don't think we're going to, because Nigeria does not have enough land to have ranches for these cows.
How would you assess Governor El-Rufai's performance?
Well, personally, I don't like to assess Governor El-Rufai because he knows what is happening in Kaduna. He is there now. He knows the challenges that he is facing. I was there before, so I don't want to give him any mark and say he is like this or like that. I'm only praying for him. May Allah give him the wisdom to help the people of Kaduna by securing their lives and their property, and then also providing all the social amenities that they need.
Is he doing well?
I am not going to assess the current governor. We'll only assess him when he leaves office.
Well, are you hoping to go back as governor of Kaduna State?
Yes, I have the opportunity. I can still contest for the governor.
Or do you think you will? Are you planning to?
By the grace of God.
You will?
By the grace of God.
Your party as it is right now, is it organized enough to be able to get you back in office?
Well, actually, the party has its own challenges, and all the political parties have their own, even the APC to have their own challenges. But we are hoping we are going to address these challenges and we are going to correct all the things that we need to correct in order for us to win the election in 2023.
Not only in Kaduna State, but also at the federal level. But let's talk about Kaduna State. Governor El-Rufai defeated you, when you were seeking re-election. You think that the APC, as it's currently constituted in Kaduna State, the PDP can be able to oust them?
Well, 2015 election, if you want me to say that, 2015 election, APC has a combination of different political parties, including PDP members. And then the tsunami that came in 2015, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, because of the popularity of the current president, especially in the north. It's not that those that contested were able to defeat those that were there, but because of what happened in 2015, a lot of people left PDP, a lot of people left other political parties. And then if you look at it, PDP has been in power for 16 years, both at the national and the state level, at the Kaduna also. And then people wanted to have a change to test and see whether they will get what they want. But at the end of the day, they have tested it, they have gotten the change, and they know what the change is all about.
So this brings me to the question of where would the next president come from? What region? Your party started it. It's become a national unwritten rule where presidency is being zoned. And in fact, in several states, zoning has now been the name of the game. Where do you think that the next president should come from? Based on the zoning arrangement?
Are you referring to the PDP or you are referring to all other political?
I'm talking about generally because if you look at it, either PDP or APC, President Goodluck Jonathan was of the PDP, was a southerner.
Yes.
President Muhammadu Buhari is a northerner, is from the APC.
Yes.
So in that sense, you would say Olusegun Obasanjo from 1999 to Yar'Adua and to Goodluck Jonathan, and now we have Muhammadu Buhari We seem to have had South, North, South, North. For 2023, where do you think that the next president should come from?
Well, that's why I ask you, are you referring to PDP or all other political parties? Because
for the PDP, where do you think? What would you? Because you're a chieftain of the PDP.
Yes, the PDP, if you look at it, PDP has not sat down yet to agree on the zoning formula or where the president will come from. But in 2018 or the 2019, I was part of it. And then based that the President Goodluck Jonathan came from the southern part, and they agreed that the next president should come from the northern part of it. Since PDP did not win the election, I don't think that one will change. I don't think. But at the end of the day, when we sit down, then we'll be able to agree where the president will come from. Since PDP did not win that election, the president did not come from the northern part from the PDP, and I think it will be fair for a PDP to allow the president to come from the northern part of the country. But for the APC, they don't have a zoning formula in their constitution. Everybody can contest for the president, but if you're going to be fair to Nigerians, APC should look at the possibility of having a southern president as their candidate.
A very popular, eminent Nigerian, interestingly, is from Kaduna State. Baba Ahmed has criticized and said, look, APC and PDP are no alternative. Going forward, Nigerians should not look in that direction. They should look at other alternatives. And they said the mega party that they want to change how politics is being played and how governance should be handled in Nigeria. For those who think that the APC and the PDP are the problems of Nigeria and should not be considered in 2023, what do you say to them?
So I'm going to ask you, based on what my brother told you, is it Hakim
Baba Ahmed.
Now, are we going to change the players, the players or the political players? Are they going to come from a different country or from the moon? Are they not going to be Nigerians? So to me, it's not the political party that is the problem. We are the problem.
When you say we?
I mean the Nigerian people are the problem of Nigeria. Not the political class. Not as when I say Nigerian people.
But he's saying that the political class, especially because the PDP and APC are elsewhere.
Political class, it depends on how you look at it. Now, if you look at the APC and you look at the PDP, even if you are going to have another political party, being a mega party or whatever, you are going to draw people from APC, people from PDP, people from other political party, and they will join that party again. Don't forget, that's what APC did in 2014. From ANPP, ACN, PDP, AFGA, and then they formed APC.
Governor Mukhtar Yero, former governor of Kaduna, said, thank you so much for talking to us on Channels Television.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much indeed. That's our conversation with the former governor of Kaduna State, Mukhtar Yero. Let's switch gears now and move into yet a very controversial matter. After the death of Senator Benoit Jumogu, who died recently, and the consequent by-election to fill that seat, there are several elections, of course, that happened around that time. The Imo North Central seat has remained vacant in the National Assembly. It was first a case of APC internal crisis over who is the authentic candidate. Two candidates were campaigning until the day of election, but it appears the case between Senator Hararume and Mr. Frank Ebezim was settled by the court. Mr. Ebezim at some point was recognized as APC candidate, and the APC won. But there is one more trouble. The certificate on qualification of Mr. Ebezim is called to question. And so because of that, the senatorial seat remains vacant. The PDP, who came second in the election, is asking that it should be given the seat. And tonight, we shall be hearing from the two sides of the divide in these controversies for the way forward. I'm being joined from Abuja studio by a former secretary to the government of Imo State, Mr. Uche Onyegocha. who will be speaking on behalf of the PDP, and Mr. Ima Okewulonu, and Mr. Beatrice Agigar, who will be speaking for Mr. Frank Ibezim of the APC. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Let me begin the conversation with you, Mr. Onyegocha. You're a lawyer. You've been in government. You know how this thing works. Give us a sense, why do you think that the PDP owns a right to that seat? You did not win that election. The APC was declared winner.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, Shehu. The truth is that the law requires that there has to be a candidate in an election. And whenever there is an election, there has to be a form EC8E deployed. And that is the form where the winner will be clearly stated, and the certificate, the evidence that he has won, will be delivered to the winner. That form EC8E was not filled by INEC. Rather, INEC went ahead to announce that APC won the election. The law does not require that a party be announced as a winner of an election. The law requires that a candidate of a party must be announced as the winner of the election. Now, in the absence of any candidate for any party that is declared, that is seen to be winning, the second runner-up in the election will be declared as the winner of the election. The second runner-up for the purpose of Okigwe's Imo North senatorial election, which is Okigwe zone, is Chief Emmanuel Okewulonu, and he needs to be declared as the winner because APC clearly did not have any candidate for the purpose of that election. And it is very evident with the fact that till this moment I'm talking to you, the APC is still fighting in different courts across the country as to who was the candidate for the purpose of the election which took place in December 5th. We're not going to have to wait for APC forever to decide who their candidate is. There is a time limit required in law for a candidate of a party to emerge so that we know who we were fighting that election against.
Let me allow your colleague there sitting. He's a lawyer too. How do you react to what Mr. Onyegocha has just said as regarding the status of APC?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sean. There is no, at this point, any controversy as to who is the candidate of the APC for that election. Penultimate election, there was a decision of the Federal High Court in Owerri that the candidate, Mr. Frank Ibezim, should not stand the election. But that decision has since been overtaken by the decision of the Court of Appeal in Abuja, wherein the candidature of Mr. Ibezim was reaffirmed. So Mr. Ararume, who happens to be the respondent in that matter at the Court of Appeal, further appealed to the Supreme Court, which appeal was dismissed. By that analogy, Mr. Ibezim was at that time and is still the candidate of the APC for that election. The decision of the Federal High Court Owerri nullifying his nomination was set aside by the Court of Appeal, and on a further challenge at the Supreme Court, that decision was reaffirmed. The decision of the Court of Appeal was reaffirmed. So logically and legally too, the implication is that Mr. Frank Ibezim was the candidate at that election, and there is no controversy whatsoever as to who was the candidate at that election.
Because this court case is lingering, if you can show our viewers a timeline of how this has gone over the past few months. Mr. Onyegocha raised the issue of the timing to wait for these. Don't you think that the logjam has exceeded the time for this case to have been brought, to be taken out of court and to be settled?
Well, the point is this. There is a candidate who has already participated in the election. And whatever contest that is going on as to whether there is a candidate or not is going to no issue, specifically because you cannot really litigate the issue of candidature, same having gone all the way to the Supreme Court. And the status has been clearly defined. So to assume that there is a pending issue, pending controversy as to who the candidate of the party is not there. For me and for a lot of people who are familiar with this issue, I think INEC ought to do the needful, because the law creating INEC, the Electoral Act specifically, that governs INEC, says that a candidate should be issued a certificate of return. And since that at the end of the election, and even to this moment, a candidate has clearly been determined, and the winner of the election, there's no contest, there's no issue as to whether APC participated or has won the election or not. Now, having established that there is a candidate who has won the election, I think INEC should do the needful and even issue certificate of return.
All right.
That would have solved the whole controversy.
All right. Let's take a breather. And when we come back, we look at some of the implications. But of course, the case that will be brought against Mr. Frank Ibezim, when you are asking that there should be a certificate of return given to him, we allow Mr. Onyegocha to react to that. And what is being the non-representation of the people of Imo North Senatorial District in the National Assembly, the implication of all of that, we'll look into it when we come back from this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Mr. Uche Onyegocha, former SSG of the state government in Imo State, a lawyer who is speaking tonight on behalf of the PDP candidate, and Mr. Okewulani in the Imo North Senatorial District election, which there is a logjam now, and Mr. Bitrus Agighara, who is a representative of the APC, a lawyer also, and that of Mr. Frank Ibezim. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Let me allow you to react to what Mr. Agighara has said there, Mr. Onyegocha. Is there any position of the law, any precedent in law as to this kind of situation where the runner-up becomes the beneficiary of this kind of controversy or this kind of situation? In any case, he said that the case is yet to be determined by the Supreme Court.
And the law is very clear on this subject matter. Where there is no candidate for a political party, the runner-up in the election is declared the winner. Now, there is no controversy, and I need to make it very clear. First, we have a publication by INEC at some point before the December 5th election stating clearly that Frank Ibezim was a candidate of APC. After some time, the same INEC made another publication stating that Ifeanyi Ararume was the candidate of APC. A day to that election, when both of them canceled themselves out through the different litigation, INEC made yet a third publication showing that there was no candidate for APC. And in order to prove that there was no controversy to that effect, on the date of election, after the results had been collected, INEC clearly stated that APC was the winner, even when INEC knew that you can't declare APC. The fact that INEC admitted that APC was the winner shows that INEC, which is the sole umpire, recognizes that there was no candidate for the APC as at December 5 when that election held. So the only right thing to do was to declare Chief Emmanuel Okewulonu of the PDP, who is the runner-up in that election, as the winner of the election, because PDP had a candidate and APC didn't have a candidate. But the truth one needs to point out is that the two of them even campaigned. The two of them even mobilized for votes. And we must point out that it was the aggregate of the votes that the two of them earned, both Ifeanyi Ararume and Frank Ibezim, that came to 36,000. While it was the sole campaign effort of Emmanuel Okewulonu that gave him 31,000 votes. So at the end of the day, since they didn't have any candidate, there is only one appropriate thing to do, and INEC knows it. If there was a candidate of APC, INEC would not have thought twice in declaring that person the winner of the election. Why did INEC not fill in the form EC8E as is required by law? Because it is a form that is conclusive. I have contested election, and I know that at the final collation, the candidate who won the election, his name will be clearly stated on the form EC8E, and he will be declared the winner of the election. So we are saying that we should follow the law. Declare Emmanuel Okewulono, the runner-up in that election, as the winner of the election, because that is the truth, and that is the fact, and that is the law. There is nothing anybody can do about it.
Let Mr. Yegocha, before I allow Mr. Agigara to respond to what you've said, have you approached INEC on this your stand? Because INEC is the ultimate determinant in this matter. When INEC says it gives a certificate of return, the person becomes the senator. Have you approached INEC?
We have approached INEC repeatedly, and we have requested them that they should do the rightful thing in law by declaring the PDP candidate, Chief Emmanuel Okewulono, as the winner of the election, being the second runner, being the runner-up in the absence of a candidate for PDP, of candidate of the APC. But they have not done so because, of course, we know that they are reacting to the weight of the fact of APC being the government at the center. But that senatorial seat has been vacant for more than 1 year. And the APC are busy fighting over who is the candidate. As at this moment, Frank Ibezim, whom the Supreme Court says is the candidate based on the appeal by Ifeanyi Ararume, has already been disqualified by the Court of Appeal in 2 separate judgments, as not being qualified to have contested that election. So for how long are we going to wait for APC to continue to fight over who should be their candidate for an election that held on December 5?
All right.
They are not going to have to fight
Mr.
forever.
Ibezim,
Because there is one more thing I should add. The last thing I want to add is that even as I'm talking to you, there are new litigation to the effect that Frank Ibezim, having been disqualified, that the third runner-up of the APC should be allowed to be declared as the candidate of APC for the purpose of that election, and which is a case they hope to drag through another long run up to the Supreme Court. We're not going to allow APC to continue this forum shopping. As to who
Mr. Yegocha, let me allow Mr. Agigara to respond to that. Mr. Agigara, I mean, it does look like a major problem for your client, Mr. Ibezim.
Well, I wouldn't say so. Even going by what the guest here had said, the issue as to whether Mr. Ibezim is qualified to contest for the election in the first place is a matter that is pending before the Supreme Court. And I will choose not to make any comment on that, same being sub judice. But the issue, at the crux of that whole issue is that he has been nominated validly, and that nomination stands. That decision is the decision of the Supreme Court. There is no room for appeal on that. So as long as the law is concerned, and I will canvass the same argument here, that having been certified, if the Supreme Court decides that you are the candidate, I don't think INEC would put it to election as to whether to accept your candidature or not. The Supreme Court has already made a point that he is the candidate of the party, and the party contested the election. Mind you, victory belongs to the political party. The party contested the election with a candidate who has won. If you were asking INEC not to issue a certificate of return to Mr. Ibezim on the premise that there is a litigation, there is an adjudication as to his qualification, entitlement to run at the election in the first place, then it is going to take us, it's going to be a big circus, in the sense that for every candidate that contests an election, there is certainly going to be an election petition tribunal constituted to determine that. By that token, by that argument, we are saying that no candidate should be declared until the election petition tribunal has exhausted its mandate and all the appellate processes. INEC should recognize
Mr. Agigara, so let's get you clearly, just for a moment, Mr. Agigara, what you are, in essence, if you can make it clear, what are you asking INEC to do? Because Mr. Yegocha has said INEC should declare the runner-up, their candidate in the PDP, as the senator of Imo North. But are you saying that pending the Supreme Court case, your candidate, or Mr. Ibezim, should be given the ticket, and if you lose it at the Supreme Court, what then happens?
That exactly is the position. We cannot use this hypothetical scenario of if he loses or if he doesn't, because the same argument will apply for. If I'm permitted to give an example, we are all aware of the Taraba case. There was a decision at the tribunal that the PDP had lost the election, and then going forward to the Court of Appeal, another decision comes, and then the Supreme Court affirms. Are we saying that as soon as there is a challenge, as soon as there is litigation, and nobody should take the seat? We are both in consensus that there is a vacancy, and the people of this constituency deserve to be represented. It is not the contemplation of the law that nobody should occupy a seat of power until and unless the appellate process is exhausted from the tribunal all the way to the Supreme Court. We're talking about another year. The law does not envisage that. This scenario, these circumstances can completely be abated if we decide, and if INEC should do the needful and say, well, pending that decision, and it's the right thing to do, and it is the law, pending the decision of the Supreme Court, let this man occupy the office. That exactly has been the position of the law.
So we're out of time now, gentlemen. We're out of time, gentlemen. And I'll allow 30 seconds each for both parties to give their final thought. Mr. Onyegocha, just in the 20 seconds or 30 seconds, please, what's your final thought on this matter?
The appropriate thing is that on December 5, when that election held and APC didn't have a candidate, INEC should have gone ahead to declare Chief Emmanuel Okewulon as the winner of the election, being the second runner-up. APC now has the whole time to go through the gamut of the law up to Supreme Court. Whenever they finally conclude as to who their candidate is, they could then go ahead and sue Chief Emmanuel Okewulon to say that he didn't win the election. That's the appropriate
All right. So let's allow Mr. Aguilera. Your 30 seconds starts now on your final thought.
Yes. Yes. While responding specifically to what he has said, we need not to go to the Supreme Court anymore. We have been there. We have done it. We have a judgment. And to align my argument with his, let the INEC issue the certificate to him, because Mr. Ibezim is clearly the winner of the election and the APC has a candidate. Thank you.
Mr. Bitru Ajikiara representing Mr. Ibezim and the APC tonight on the program, and Mr. Uche Onyegocha, former SSG to the Imo State government and a lawyer, also representing PDP, and Mr. Okewulon on the program. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight to speak on this matter. Well, that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.